We're the Young Indie Chroniclers podcast, and we're producing a new feature-length documentary, George Lucas, The Lost Golden Age.
Those 4 years in there was the happiest period for Lucasfilm.
We're thrilled to report Rick McCallum has agreed to sit with us for an all-new exclusive interview just for this documentary. We're also in contact with other key figures from the period, including Ben Burt, Jonathan Hales, and many others who played an enormous part in bringing this era to life.
We built a Kickstarter campaign to support the film. Join us now on this adventure at Kickstarter.com.
Hello there. Welcome to Force Ghost Conversations. This podcast is your home for cozy deep dives into all things Star Wars and Lucasfilm-adjacent properties. This is your host, Anthony King, and each week I will be joined by fans, creators, and believers in the principles from the galaxy far, far away to discuss the thematical elements from our favorite Lucasfilm properties. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, your home for cozy deep dives into all things Star Wars and Lucasfilm-adjacent things. And this is the final episode of our Visions Volume 3 discussions. At least for now, we always reserve the right to open up the door again to chat some more Visions Volume 3. Maybe we'll do more specific episode-based content. But for now, at least, this is our overview discussion of it as it just came out a few weeks ago. And we've Dr. Greg Cass back on the show from the Long Take Review podcast and Second Breakfast on the Rebel Base Card Network. So a whole lot of fun things to chat about with Greg here on this episode as we chat about episode 7, 8, and 9. And after this segment known as Cloud City Gossip, where we covered the news and things in the Star Wars and Lucasfilm-adjacent galaxy over the past week, after this, you'll be able to hear that and full spoiler warning, of course, too, after that. So if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you go check it out on Disney Plus, and then come right back to this moment in time so that you can enjoy everything without missing a beat. Anywho, let's get to the aforementioned news, because there has been a bit of a decent big amount of news this past week here. At least past 2 weeks here as well, because I did record last week's episode in advance too. So just did want to note again that Young Jedi Adventure Season 3 is still coming up on December 8th. So at the time of this recording drop, it'll be out the following day. So it'll be out on Disney Junior and Disney Plus. So go celebrate Young Jedi Adventures Season 3. Now, for the big drop of the week, actually just happened very soon after recording here. We noted before that the 50th anniversary of Star Wars is in 2027, and there was going to be a theatrical re-release of A New Hope in cinemas in April of that year, also leading up to Celebration, and then Starfighter is coming out later that year, which is currently filming. And they've moved that up to February 19th, 2027. But Lucasfilm also announced that the theatrical version of A New Hope has been restored and will be the version that they show in this theaters for a limited time. Now, I can take it or leave it, to be honest. I've never seen the actual special edition version. I'm actually quite surprised. I thought I would see more fanfare across the internet, because that's what I've heard, only things people clamoring about for all these years. But cool, great, excited to see A New Hope in the theater, and I guess I'll see it this way. All right, cool. That's really what I'm at. I kind of have some mixed feelings, ambivalence to it a little bit there. I'm sure they got George's approval to move forward with it, and if it's added as a special feature on a Blu-ray or something like that, and I'll certainly get it for the novelty of it. But hey, I'm all for Greedo shooting first, personally. I don't care. But anywho, it means more to a lot more people than me. So happy to celebrate that for everybody else there. Finally, Sean Levy did let it slip that Thomas Newman will provide the score for Starfighter, and I think that's a really big win. He's very much in that same student of John Williams vein of score producer, and I love his work that he did on 1917. So I think that he'll provide a wonderful look at Star Wars as we move forward here in this new era. So excited for all that stuff. Looking forward to it. And that is all the news I had in this week's segment. So on the other side of the short break, we'll be back with Dr. Greg Cass talking all things Star Wars Visions Volume 3, Part 3. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations. We are at the Return of the Jedi, if you will, the final chapter, the trilogy of Star Wars Visions, Volume 3, Part 3 episodes here. I hope you enjoyed Parts 1 and Part 2 of the prior weeks here. We are here with Dr. Greg Cass to finalize all the things for Visions Volume 3. Greg, of course, from the Long Take Review, Second Breakfast, and many things across the internets. Greg, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, and how you doing?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I, as always, enjoy you being my Disney Plus conscience, where you tell me the things I should have gotten to by now and
Yeah.
encourage me to watch them. So you fulfilled that role again, and I'm excited to be here to talk about these 3 really different episodes of Star Wars Visions.
For sure. And if I can push back, I think I'm a larger conscience than just Disney Plus, because I get
That's
you to
true.
watch things that you've had on the watch list for a while that maybe just keeps going further down for other reasons or another. But fortunately, this was just 3 quick 20-minute episodes at most. And instead of 9 1-hour plus episodes in a documentary uh, about.
But if I can say it, and maybe this starts my reaction too early, I gotta say this is the first time I've watched Visions with the ad tier of Disney Plus because we downgraded to save a little
Oh,
scratch.
okay.
Man, do they drag out? They put, I think, 3 ad breaks into 18 minutes. I'm like,
No
this is
way.
like almost 50-50 here to get there. So it's a little longer than 18 minutes, despite whatever the timestamp says when you log in.
That's crazy. What are the ads like? Because I just asked because we were watching. We did that for our Netflix, and there were a lot of. We were watching. What's that new Catherine Bigelow film? You'll know off the top of your head better than
House
I
of
do.
Dynamite.
House of
Yeah.
Dynamite, yes, and there were a couple ads there that didn't really fit the bill of what the context and level of the threat
Yeah,
of the
that's a
movie
tough
was
one.
proposing. Right? We're like, ooh,
Well,
this is
actually, it's funny you asked because it was across the 3 episodes. I got a lot for this bank service I'd never heard of called Ingenious, but they spell it funny, so it's
Not a
search
sponsor for the show,
engine.
by the way, guys.
No free ads. And then the third ad break in at least the last one in black was all Disney Plus ads. It was like,
Yeah.
watch the Wimpy Kid. Here's all our holiday movies, and then there's a new. I don't know if they're serving this to you fancy ad-free people, but there's Disney Plus perks for the holiday season. No free ads, but so it's some deal we can all go get if we log in on each of the first 12 days of December. And so they was telling me to do so. I think
I did
for
not know
like
about
a
this.
Nordstrom discount, which
Oh
I
boy.
didn't rush for. So
You're like, it's cold enough here in up in the Northeast. I've got enough warm clothes to begin with. I don't need another Nordstrom.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for enduring all the advertisements. That must be terrible. Like if you're watching Endgame, right, a 3-hour long movie, or let's say you're going to rewatch the Avatar films potentially over the next couple of weeks here, based off of when this is coming out. A 3-hour movie that could be an ad every 15 minutes there. It's really driving it home. Like, hey, here you go, guys.
And to your point about House of Dynamite, they really don't fit into Andor either. So I watched Andor ad-free for the first watch through, and now as we return to it for Second Breakfast, I'm on the ad tier, and I'm like, oh, this really breaks it up. Disney Plus has gotten better at actually putting the ads in the scene breaks, at least, but those are not shows that were edited originally to have ad breaks, like if you watch The Office or something on streaming where there's kind of natural spots. So it's rough going. You'd think all this complaining I'd spend the extra $4, but here we are. Haven't done it yet.
That money can go towards popcorn at the cinema. The real things that matter.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. Yeah. There's a part of me that kind of wishes, right? You've probably perhaps seen like Empire, Star Wars on TV, like with the ads included there. And I know that there's a lot of Star Wars fans that like have memorized where the ad breaks are because they recorded it on VHS, and that's how that's Star Wars to them. Is that I wonder if on the ad tier version, if you watch like the original trilogy, are they in the exact same spots that the,
Did they
the
find those?
commercial
That's a good
breaks were?
question.
Like, that would be a fun Easter egg, but I doubt that the engineers over at Disney Plus really went into that great length and detail to figure that out.
Did that far, yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because this is the time of year they used to air on cable. So I'll play old man Star Wars fan and say, it would be 1 week in December, and it would be on the USA Network when I was a middle schooler. And it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it always coincided with my grandmother's big holiday party on the Friday. So I have many memories of like being down wearing fancy clothes, having my cheeks pinched by all the old ladies from town, and then I'd like stuff a bunch of food in my pockets and run up to her bedroom and find the Rancor on cable and watch for a little while. So it is fitting to talk about that this time of year.
You're like, you knew the right amount of time for like, how long can I stay down here that they know that I'm here? And then
Yep.
you're like, how long
Hide
can I be
away.
away before they recognize that I'm gone? So you're like, you had it down to a science of like, how much Star Wars can I get in before I
And
have to be
multiple
back where I'm
years.
at?
Like, that's why these memories are so clear, is it's like, okay, every year that was my one chance to watch it until I think I got the videos the first time with the special edition. So yeah.
Got it.
Again, old man Star Wars tales. Here we are.
Well, I love it, and we're here to chat about the newest thing in Star Wars here, which is the episodes 7, 8, and 9 from Star Wars Visions Volume 3. So full spoiler warning to anybody that hasn't perhaps seen those yet. Go watch your Disney Plus, whether it be an ad tier or full non-ad tier, and go check those out. Pause the episode now, and then come right back to this moment in time, because anything beyond this, full warning, is a spoiler. So beware of that. But before we get into Volume 3 itself, I do want to take your temperature on Volumes 1 and 2. So, these shorts, if you will, have been taking fans throughout a differentiating and global perspective on the galaxy far, far away. So, honestly, what are your opinions of the first volumes? We'll start with that one. What do you think about Volumes 1 and 2?
Yeah, so I think for me, the greatest strength of Visions is also what makes me not think about it that often, which is they are, as you just said, these fun little side tangents in this universe. And it's really wonderful to get to see people who are really creative, get to tell a unique story and do something very experimental at times. And, the multicultural aspect, where I am not a major anime fan, but Volume 1, seeing all those studios from Japan the first time around, and then getting even kind of more variety in Volume 2 were awesome, and I really enjoyed. But I have to say, having watched them all, I don't return to them regularly. Right? Like, I think I watched each of the first 2 volumes, and then because there's not a lot to make me remember Visions is out there, and we have so much Star Wars content, I haven't really returned to them a lot. I did read some of there was a tie-in novel, and there's been some
couple
comic
comics,
and I think a manga at some point. So I have experienced all of those things, and I remember reading those things being like, wow, I really guess I don't remember the show that well. But I, watching these today, my son, who's 10 years old, passed through, and I was like, okay, maybe he and I need to sit down and go right from, Volume 1, Episode 1, and kind of go all the way through, because I think he'll really dig these and the different art styles, because they're a lot of fun. You didn't ask. My favorite of all time has to be the one by Aardman Studios, where they actually get
too.
Dennis Lawson. I love that one.
It is so good. It is beautiful, and unfortunately, you and I didn't get to go to Tokyo for Celebration, where they had a full pavilion there for Star Wars Visions, and they got a lot of the different studios to send materials and all the things that they did to help bring to life these different shorts, and one of them was the stop motion
so cool
claymation characters that they crafted for that from Aardman. I'm like, that's the grail right there.
yeah
That's it, guys. Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. I think that's the benefit of this, is that it is so in its own different sandbox. All these different things are their own sandbox, right? And it's nice to just come in to this and just not have to worry about I'll be honest here. I think you had the same kind of opinion too, right? The Acolyte was a fun experience as fans, but the week to week conversation of, well, canon this, canon that, this can't be true, this is true. All that was daunting and a big weight on the overall experience of it. Whereas this is just like, turn my brain off, enjoy lightsabers, pew pew pew, see what they got, and if it sticks, it sticks, and if not, great. It's only 15 minutes long, and I'll move on to the next one. So it's like the guy that dubs himself as Ion Cannon. You know, are you like, wow, this is a real refreshing cleanse, if you will, after a full array of different things where I have to keep track of where all the different pieces are going. You know, like your Charlie Day meme, right?
Yeah,
the wall of everything, and trying to track where it all fits into the big piece of the Star Wars puzzle. Was for this, you're like, oh, it's that like sandbox outside around the corner there that I drive past on the way home. You're like, yeah, it looks fun. Like they're doing some stuff over there. Cool.
Yeah, well, and I think I was challenged by the novel because the novel kind of reverse engineered the canon for that initial episode, right? And
Oh, really?
yeah, well, and it was a very, to me, confusing kind of set of choices because it was like there are Jedi and Sith, but they're actually the Jedi are the bad ones and the Sith are the good ones,
Yeah.
and all this stuff got really convoluted when you tried to build it out. And so I didn't enjoy that novel terribly much. Actually, I remember it took me like 2 tries. I got halfway through. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I got to start this over and go through it. Because I do think it's really freeing, like you're saying, to just be able to say, let's just enjoy this. Like, okay, lightsaber umbrella. I don't have to worry about that. Whereas, you know, an
if that was in the Acolyte, we'd never hear the end of it.
Right. My example was going to be the Inquisitor spinning their lightsaber to fly away in Rebels that I still have, you know, struggled.
Or I was thinking lightsaber whip too, right? We had to work our heads around that one.
So all of that is much more challenging. And this is like, yeah, let's just have fun and let's not worry too much about it. Which I do like. And, you know, I think it's clear in the larger culture, anime is becoming, I mean, it's been big for a long time, but it, you know, there was a day this fall when I was doing my normal, I think Monday or Tuesday night at the movie theater, and the place was packed. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And it was, you know, I think it was the Demon.
Oh, I was going to say that. Yeah. That Demon Slayer. Yeah. The one I've been seeing ads for months.
Oh man. So it was like, it was the busiest I had seen it since Barbenheimer. And that maybe has been beaten out by Wicked and Zootopia 2, because it was busy again this last week. But it was like, wow. And so, you know, I think the rise of Crunchyroll as a streaming service and you know, Alamo Drafthouse as a theater chain is really tied into trying to bring more of that to theaters.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that Star Wars is participating in that. And for, you know, and I should name check K-pop Demon Hunters too, obviously the phenomenon of the year. And so I think for people who are really into those things, I think Visions means like so much more to them than it does to me. And I'm really glad they have it, because it's great. Star Wars is big and we should have something for everybody. There's no reason why we can't all have our flavors we like.
So what you're really saying is bring Visions to the movie theater and let everyone enjoy this wonderful phenomenon on the big screen.
I never say no to Star Wars in the theater. They would like me to, I think, or they would like me to not want it as badly as I do. But, you know, I think it's always a great, and some of these would be phenomenal with a big sound system behind them to really hear it.
That's true. I would love to see a lot of these too on the big screen. So this past year they announced Volume 3, and then they had the big panel at Celebration 2. So when you hear Volume 3 is announced, what were your initial thoughts or reactions to that?
I think, if I'm being honest, it gets lost in the mix of all the other things.
That's
right?
Fair.
Like, I think
honest, yeah.
we talked about right after Celebration, there was so much that it was easy to forget. I've even already forgotten the other animated project this year, Tales of
the Underworld, but you also missed technically the other adjacent non-canon thing, the Rebuild the Galaxy too. It just was a couple weeks ago.
Right. So all of those are kind of like in the mix where while I'm getting, I think as Celebration's happening, I'm mostly queued up getting ready for Andor, and it's like I'm excited, but it's like I check a box. I'm like, great, can't wait to watch those, and then I kind of slowly get around to it. But I have enjoyed all I've watched of those 3. So I can't say I was like, oh, thank God they're doing more Visions. It also gets a little confusing because we get the announcement that this set of episodes has a sequel in it, and that a different one is getting the full series treatment. Is it a full series or it's another
full series? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that's crazy, but I like the idea of this being like a little like I don't know, like a tester space, right?
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
try to do
An
some
incubator.
pilots. An incubator. That's perfect. Yes. An incubator where we can try to see if any of these ideas work, and if they get really some good traction, we can promote them, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's I think it's great first and foremost. I think when season volume 1 comes out, right? I think that's the thing that a lot of people said was great. These are awesome. Are we gonna ever get any sequels to any of
Yeah.
these? Um, volume 2 comes out and it's an entirely different set of studios doing different stories, and you're like, great. Are any of those going to get sequels? Are we going to
Yeah.
revisit any from the first one? So them coming back to Japanese studios, announcing some of the similar studios, announcing that there are going to be some sequels to previous ones, and then announcing exactly which ones at Celebration was a big thing, and I think a big testament to the work and the investment that Lucasfilm has done into animation, but also supporting different people of color and different diverse voices, and bringing them into the Star Wars galaxy without having them have the weight of like, oh, I need to fit into this particular moment in time in the Star Wars timeline, which increasingly gets more and more filled by the day as new books come out and new movies and new concepts, and everybody's pitching a new story to Kathleen Kennedy all the time. So I'm glad to see that this is having its own little niche fandom within the Star Wars fandom, having its thing. Like, I've talked to a couple of people over the last couple of weeks here with these conversations, and both of them were at Celebration in Japan. So they got to see the pavilion. Some of them got to go to the panel and whatnot, but they also got to see like cosplayers cosplaying
Mm.
various characters from Visions Volume 1 and Volume 2 there. I'm like, that's so cool that it already within about 4 years now, it's had such a fandom that's made people want to dress up and be like embody these characters that they they don't have to just dress up as Luke Skywalker anymore. They can get the same kind of thematical messages across from various other characters that maybe look more like them or represent them in a different way than Star Wars ever possibly could do based off of what's on the page there. So I think that's awesome. I'm glad to see that the Lost Ones is getting that long form story. Maybe that's if that's the testing, the incubator, if you will, maybe some of these others might get that same treatment too. Who knows? I think the sky's the limit with this thing, and I think Lucasfilm has clearly shown that they're going to keep investing in this because they got to keep funneling the Disney Plus machine with new content every so often, and it
Well,
seems like
and
an
I
easy way to keep that going.
I was being rude as you were talking. I was trying to do some quick Googling because I thought I remembered they were doing a kind of Marvel version of this, but I see no evidence. So maybe I had a dream. But Disney
You
Plus, do
dreamed
a
it into
Marvel.
existence,
Yeah,
yeah.
do a Marvel version of this because I do think it's an easy format if you kind of made visions wider, and you could do Disney animation, right?
Yeah.
Like, my kids would love if some cool studio got to do Frozen characters in this way, or
Absolutely.
whoever. So I think there's like you're saying, there's a lot of love for it, and there's a lot of potential, and I think I have seen Visions cosplayers as well. I'm trying to remember where, but I've definitely, maybe it was the
That's neat.
Celebration. This would not have been out by Celebration LA, I don't think,
Yeah,
right?
not in Anaheim. It was
Yeah,
that
or
was
in
one of the
Anaheim rather.
panels
Yeah.
that day.
Okay.
Was about Visions. I think the last day was Visions panel.
So it must have been maybe Providence Comic Con, Rhode Island Comic Con up here. I've
Nice.
definitely seen a lightsaber umbrella somewhere, and I can't remember where. But very cool that people are so creative, obviously. And I know they've done a little bit of merch. It shocks me how much they're leaving on the table because I think a lot of people would buy most characters. I mean, the bunny, is that Lopi? Loppy from the first volume?
From volume 1, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
Give
been
me
a
the
while.
bunny action figure. I'm there. I'll buy a Jackson. I'll buy her. Yeah. But I think it's always fun when you see it built out. My kids, I buy my kids all the Star Wars Golden books, and so they have TOB1, right? Is a golden book.
Nice.
Got done. So yeah.
Well, I like how you brought in the Marvel there too, because I've always they have the What If series that's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's animation, right? And that's very much a Marvel thing, right? That's a comic line that it's in the bread and butter of what they do, right? The concept of the what if, and Star Wars fans are not immune to the concept of like a what if thing. But people have asked me over the years, especially when that Marvel series got announced, like, do you want a Star Wars what if? And I was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But with this here, right, this fills that itch for me of like a what if, right? Like, oh, what if it basically just says, what if none of this mattered here? Take unlearn everything you've learned about Star Wars episodes 1 through 9 and this Clone Wars and whatnot, and just say like, hey, here are just some basic elements, run with it, create a story, tell us a myth, or create something that you want to tell kids to be better people at the end of the day. Go do it. And hey, that's absolutely it. It's like, people not watching Star Wars but creating Star Wars at the same time, and what else comes through the meat grinder, if you will, to like on the other end of it. Like they had all their influences and where they come from and whatnot, and then Visions is on the other end of that. I'm like, this is great. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right that, we should acknowledge, especially when we're talking about Japanese culture, it's like that influenced George on that end. So it might as well, feed back into that culture and let them riff on it now and rebuild it. So it's great. Even though it's not my absolute favorite part of Star Wars, I hope it goes on for 20 volumes, right? I see a big box set, although they'll never release the box set because they want you to keep subscribed. But
they want you to stay on that ad tier. They make more money on the ads than the non-ads.
I know. I'm still fingers crossed that I have my Andor season 1 set, so I'm like, you got to at least give me Andor volume 2, season 2. But we'll see.
As the completionist, that'll be the one thing that they never release, and you'll be like, come on, guys, come on. Well, all right, let's dive into the last 3 episodes here, starting with episode 7, which is The Smuggler. And in my opinion, it seems to be arguably the most straightforward Star Wars plot of any of these shorts, even amongst the others 1 through 6, and then, of course, the 3 that we'll talk about today. Did you kind of have similar feelings while watching this one? And if anything, did you have any thematic takeaways here?
Well, I liked, you called it the most straightforward, not the like simplest. And I laughed because I finished the 3 and I was like, okay, I think The Smuggler was my favorite. And then I opened up the questions. And I was like, oh, did Anthony just call me simple-minded in some way? But I think straightforward is exactly the right word for it, that this is kind of your traditional story. I would
say compared to Black, right? Like this is very much
compared to either of the other two. So I really enjoy it. I liked the kind of idea, this mythology, and again, this would be an example of this could be happening off screen in the Star Wars universe. We know, we just have never been to this planet and met these characters. But I really had a fun time with this one, and I saw in it a lot of kind of my favorite Star Wars themes of it's kind of a Ray Nobody story, right? That every small person can be a part of something bigger, that everybody has a role to play. And just because you aren't the prince or the hidden Jedi, you still, it's not called it's not named after those two. It's named after the
It's
Smuggler.
not like the lost prince, right?
Definitely. So I really enjoyed that. And I liked this kind of young, female Han Solo-ish type character, kind of a little Afra vibe maybe in that. And I thought the kind of actual animation style was, probably the most traditional of these 3. And and it was nice to just see kind of, something that looked like a Studio Ghibli release from my, middle school, high school years. So it was great. What did you think?
I want to yes and it, and just because I want to reiterate, just because straightforward does not equal simple. I would just more so saying that like this seems like when it comes to the plot of A New Hope, right? It just feels like it was upended, right? The adverse, right? Han Solo is now female. They're not saving a princess, they're saving a prince, right? The Obi-Wan sage character is now a female Jedi. So
nice.
Taking all those elements there and kind of just flipped on its head, and maybe fans caught it and maybe they didn't, and that's the interpretation of it aspect too, which is a cool thing about all this stuff. And probably the most familiar elements too, beyond that too, right? Because it's very like, oh, they're on a planet here, the Empire's here, we're gonna help the prince escape so that he can start a rebellion so that they can come back and remove the Empire from this said planet here, which I think is, it's a pretty cool plotline, frankly. Arguably, I'll tell you this, the interesting thing here is this is kind of very similar to the plot of Rebel Moon. So if you like this one, Greg, I know you haven't seen that yet.
No, I've watched both of the originals. I haven't seen the director's cut yet.
Those are the originals technically. So
true.
Go pull those up if you got some time over the holiday break. amidst your viewings of Marty Supreme and whatnot, else may be the Ray Fiennes Choir, World War I choir film that no one else wants
No,
to talk about
I'm
but
all
me.
Wake Up Dead Man. I need to
Wake
get
Up
like
Dead
10
Man.
more of those in before
As much as you can see it in the cinema before it goes out.
One more week. No, I think I actually really like how you pointed that out, that it is really a remix of those familiar elements, and I do see that. I loved in Rebel Moon the kind of retelling of the kind of simple Seven Samurai story. Now I'm being rude to Kurosawa, I guess.
Whoa.
If you're
your
gonna go after
cinephile
someone
card away, right?
yeah. If you're gonna go after someone, go after the big dog. But yeah, and I think this really worked well. And just to yes and you with another of those themes, I loved the moment where the prince is like just sending the simple message, like I'm gonna do right, I'm gonna do what's right, and not protect myself, and the duty question is really great and really nicely told.
Yeah, and well, yes, and your yes ands there. I did like the concept, like you kind of mentioned a little bit this earlier, right? Where they're like, "We need you. You were the most important part of this. You smuggler, right?"
Yeah.
Which goes to show again that anybody can have a role, even if you're not royalty or a Jedi or, uh, a part of the Empire, right? You can play a key pivotal role in making the world a better place. Great thematical elements right there across the board.
Yeah. It really a message for now, even though I'm sure it was made many years ago. It's kind of a timeless message.
Oh, yeah, I mean, timeless message, and sadly becomes more present now, just like Andor, right? With every watch, it becomes more and more alarming. Anywho, back to visions here, because we can always turn it to Andor talk very quickly here. The word that came to mind with the next episode for me, the Birds of Paradise, was transcendental. The animation is beautiful, it's philosophical, it's introspective. The character Nakime goes on a wild trial, and we, the viewer, are along for a great ride. In your opinion, how does this sequence mirror the dark side cave from Empire?
Yeah. As like a pure academic, I want to talk about the question before I answer the question. I loved your use of transcendental here. I'm actually one of my reading projects right now is I'm reading a biography of Louisa May Alcott, the author of Little Women, and she, of course, comes from Concord, Massachusetts, famous for being where the Revolution started, but about 75 years later, the home of major literature and the kind of start of the American canon, and home to the transcendentalists, right? And so I've been reading a lot about her father, Bronson Alcott, along with Emerson and Thoreau, are the people who kind of work on transcendentalism. Always a hard word for me to get out. But when you say transcendental, I was thinking about, well, what's the difference between transcendental and transcendent, right? And they're listed as synonyms.
You're
if you
like
go back to the
Merriam-Webster's dictionary.
Yeah. But I was thinking how, to me, what it means is, transcendentalism was about the mediation of the church has gotten in the way of our authentic experience. And, Thoreau is probably the best example is, let me get back to nature. Let me get rid of all the modern conveniences, modern by his standards, not really by ours. And let me just live in the woods and live deliberately and see what happens. Is kind of the easiest form of transcendentalism. And so I was thinking that this episode does feel like the Dagobah Cave, because I think in Empire, you have Yoda is filtering all the lessons that Luke gets from the Force. And then the cave is the moment Yoda steps back and tells him, you have everything you need, you don't need your weapons, you should just go, but then just lets him go and have that pure, unmitigated, unmediated experience of the Force. And I thought this was beautiful in that way. I'm not going to pretend I have yet understood every step of the journey. And I don't think I actually want to, right? I kind of want to experience it like your word choice is, which is, let me just let this wash over me. And the visuals of this one were absolutely stunning. And, the kind of flower petal swirling image was like instantly iconic. And I was like, I would hang up a frame of that on my wall easily and really enjoy it. And so I do think that it became transcendental to me because I just wanted to let myself wash over it and think about when this young Padawan can just get the pure unmediated force, what she learns and how she grows was really wonderful. Yeah, I want to hear your reaction, because then I have a quibble with what I didn't like about this. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I think exactly that. It definitely mirrors to answer my question there. Yes, I do think it mirrors the sequence there. It's definitely her looking inward and going on this journey of self introspection and trying to. It's the trial that we rarely see in Star Wars, right? They talk all the time about your your Jedi trials, right? These big things that they have to face, and they never really explain, as far as I understand. Maybe you can tell me what actually the trials are.
Yeah.
They just kind of make it up as long as you've passed your trials now, or they go through a sort of harrowing experience on the other end, and then they're like, that qualifies for your trial, pat on the
Yeah,
back, you've done it.
there's way more of those than any sense of what the trials are. Yeah,
Exactly.
agreed.
So to actually like see a version of that that's similar to something we've already seen, I think this was great. Plus, it's extended to that point, right? The Empire sequence is maybe 3 minutes at most, and it's just Luke going into the cave, being scared, finding Vader, having that little lightsaber duel. The helmet explodes and it's him, and he's like, wow, that could be me if I make wrong choice, right? All the things that's super philosophical that scene depicts, right? And this does that, but it also does it over the course of 15 minutes here. So it's dealing with fear. It's overcoming the fear of loss, the fear of death, the fear of failure, right? Letting go of all those things, right? Letting the metaphor of like the dark side of her killing her, right? Because that's letting go of like the things she fears to lose most, and she ultimately rises above that at the end. Like it's really poetic and magic. And I think this is, like you were saying, the one that it takes multiple viewings to maybe even get a glimpse of what they're trying to say here. I mean, I'm on my third viewing of it right now as we're talking about it, and I still feel kind of underqualified to even like really bring it up in any large discussion here. But automatically, I think you pick the things from the first viewing, right, where it's like it's so beautiful. That's the first thing that washes over you. And then as you marinate with, this is a marinating episode, right? This isn't one that maybe this not to say that Smuggler is not the same value level, right, of it, but you watch it once and you're like, great, I think I have a sense and grasp of the thematical elements of this thing here, because it is kind of familiar in terms of what it presents here. Whereas this one is like, hey, we're gonna just throw a bunch of Eastern philosophy at you, and you may not get it the first try here, but a lot of people, like, that Empire sequence went right over their head, and still 40 plus years later, it still goes over their head and they don't get it. So I think this is one of those episodes that as time goes on, as Visions creates more of a larger fan base, people are going to reflect back on this one and go, wow, this is really a like, they did this, they went there with this. Like, not only is the animation enough to make you watch it again, but the philosophical elements of it too rival almost anything else that Star Wars has touched, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and that tips me towards the thing I didn't
tell me.
love, but I may be open to loving in the future.
Ooh, okay.
I was very confused by the title cards, right? Like, there were a lot of title cards.
Did they put ads in between them?
Yeah. So it's like, oh man, we're really getting very small slices of narrative here. But like, you get the title card and there's like, it felt like a puzzle that I didn't have the time to like crack now. And maybe that's just I like your point about Eastern philosophy. Maybe that's the wrong attitude, right? A puzzle can exist just to meditate on, to think on, and there's maybe no answer of why they put those on, or what, because it kind of had the title in the middle and then the little kind of almost like a fortune cookie, like Clone Wars style thing in the corner. And I think I was looking for them to be like the 7 stages of grief or something like that, and I don't think there's any answer that simple. I think it's more the steps and to think about. And then your comment also made me think about, I really liked when she's facing off against herself, and it's her immaturity, and the idea that you need to kill the immature parts of you to move forward, or battle with them, if not kill them. really wonderful and really engaging as a kind of storytelling device. So I think this, of the three, this will probably be the one I want to return to the fastest, right? That when I continue my Visions watch, I'm going to start at 3.1, but I'll be excited to get back up to this one more than the other two, I think, to try to learn a little bit more. But then also just like awesome character design and a really cool new droid, just like tossed in and then not, really focus on all that much. So I love that side of Visions too, that people can create these stunning visuals, but also get to design their own spaceships and their own. Well, the smuggler spaceship was somewhere from canon. I feel like I have
I'm going to lean on you for that one.
Oh man,
Mr. Ion Cannon.
I don't know the name, but I definitely have like a Star Wars Unlimited card of that ship, or maybe it's the deck building game. So it's been around, that main ship there. But yeah, so it's really fun to get to see people do that design, and again, just the beauty of almost every sequence in this, even just like the waterfall was beautiful. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we're talking about far ends of the spectrum here, listeners at home, you would think that we're talking about the one that is the most out there in terms of things that could be within the sandbox that you would think is Star Wars Visions. But man, it really is a bigger sandbox than we could ever imagine. And we are now at the last episode 9, which is titled Black. And strap in for this one, folks. Greg, if for anyone that maybe hasn't seen Black yet, how would you describe it to them? Or even, I think there's two answers to this one. So I'm going to ask you, if there's a Star Wars fan that's interested in watching Visions and they're like, I've heard rumblings about this thing, Black, right? How would you describe it to them?
So the experience I would liken it most to is, I'm sure this is true in most cities that have a nice big art museum, but I love at our Boston Museum of Fine Arts when I'm in like the classical paintings and then I go through a doorway and don't know I've gone into the modern art section. And there's always those little like black box theaters on the side of an art gallery, and you're like, I wonder what this is, and there's something very experimental being shown on the screen. And so the word I would describe about this is quite experimental, and it's about to me it's about showing a lot of visualizations and kind of experimenting with form and color in ways we don't see in Star Wars. And then perhaps the biggest shocking part of it is the kind of disconnect between the visuals and the music, which is at times like an Oga's Cantina jam, right? It's like Star Wars, well, I gotta say jizz music, unfortunately. But it's like that, and yet it seems like big band music, if anything, playing in the background, or like kind of jazzy, and you get that same kind of experimental visuals. But really engaging, like engrossing. I couldn't look away from it, and yet I think it's a mistake to try to say in any concrete way what was happening or what it was meant to say. It's really hard. Yeah.
Now, would you describe it the same way to a non-Star Wars fan?
So 2 comps I would go to a non-Star Wars fan. I don't know if I even answered the Star Wars fan question well, but don't go into it expecting Star Wars is maybe what I would say.
There'll be elements of it, I guess. Yeah,
yeah.
But like, woof.
So I would give 2 comps. When I was little, my parents had taped all the holiday TV specials on the same VHS tape, right? They set it to SLP,
lucky.
And it was like Charlie Brown and Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman. And deep in that tape, we would sometimes get far enough to get to the snowman, right? Have you seen the old animated
I have
Snowman?
The VHS of it, yes.
Beautiful
It's
film.
amazing.
And the experience of watching this reminded me a lot of when I would get that far. It's much more meditative. It's I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's like the journey of the snowman is all about the visuals, and it's just kind of calming, and you see this journey unfold. And I felt very similar when I was watching this, though it has a little different spin on. So the second thing I would say, I would ask people if they'd read The Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Do you know this short story?
No, I've never heard of this.
Can I describe it without
Can you describe
spoiling
that?
it? The Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge is set in I don't actually know what war it's set in. I want to say it's probably the Revolutionary War, but it might be the Civil War. And it begins with a soldier who has been captured by the enemy, and he is being hanged from a bridge. And what unfolds takes you into his perspective as he's about to get hanged. And a lot happens. It's not as simple and straightforward. So I'll leave it vague. But the way in which this is kind of set within somebody who seems to be dying really reminded me of that story as well. So those are my comps to non-Star Wars fans who have read obscure American short stories and seen obscure PBS television specials.
Obscure PBS television specials. Speaking of PBS television specials, folks, go watch The American Revolution if you haven't checked it out yet. It's probably on your PBS Passport, which you can watch for free. But hey, sign up for $5 a month. It's tax deductible. Anywho, back to our regularly scheduled programming here. This is almost so indescribable. Like, you have to see it to believe it, I think is how like I would say it. Like, just put it on. Like, there's no way I can either explain it that'll make you want to watch it, because if you said no speaking jazz space opera with like very avant-garde visuals, people would be like, yeah, no thank you, I'll watch my NCIS instead. Or if I'm like, it's Star Wars-esque, right? They'll be like, okay, I'll just watch Return of the Jedi again. And you're like, oh, okay, sure. So go into it, no expectations. I think it's the best way to do it. Just maybe it's the one that you like over the holidays, for people are like, oh, we need something to put on. You just kind of just like sneak it on, right? And just like let it speak for itself, right? I think that's the best way to let Black wash on over us here. Where does it for you amongst the episodes that we watched here today, plus your recollections of Visions Volume 1 and 2? Where does it kind of like rank among those shorts? Because this is arguably the one that Lucasfilm is like pushing the most here.
I find it really hard to rank Visions, period, because they're all so different.
That's true.
And like, I really enjoy
your favorite, right? I guess.
Yeah. Other than the Aardman one, but like, I do think what I love about Visions, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, is that they can just be wild like this. And I want it to be experimental in this way. And there's something that it felt very much like George Lucas would love this. And I don't know.
I get that sense too. Yeah.
But like, where he's gone back to his roots and said, like, I wish I could just make these experimental art house things with form. And, he was interested in animation. The animation style, if anything, kind of looks like the holiday special animation, maybe a little at times.
A little bit there.
That Nelvana style. But so I do think it is really great for Star Wars in that regard. And I like that in this larger project, they really just told somebody like, yeah, do this really weird out there thing. And I'm imagining them like storyboarding this and showing it to Pablo or Kathleen and being like, this is what I want to do. But I guess that is me dodging your question to say, I'm really, really glad this is a part of Visions. I don't really know that this is one I will return to over and over again, but I intend to watch it again at some point, right? I will watch it in the next watch through to try to wrap my head around it a little bit more. But yet also I want to watch it to not make me wrap my head around it either, right? Like, whereas I want to puzzle out the Birds of Paradise, I really don't even want to puzzle this one out necessarily. I want to grab some additional pieces on my way through, but maybe not care that they aren't meant to say anything.
For sure. Both can be true. Yeah. Both can exist. I think for me, I think this is maybe I think the Aardman one is my favorite overall, but I think from like an avant-garde standpoint, I think this might be the most like, oh, this is what Visions could do, right? It's if it's the full spectrum of, not dissing the Smuggler again, but if that's the one side of things, and then if this is the far end and Visions, the rest of it is in between there, and like, wow, that's a pretty cool array of content that you're getting in the roughly 3 hours that you'd be watching a volume of sorts, which makes for interesting afternoon or evening or however you're watching this here, over cartoons or in the morning, right? That could be someone's way of watching this with some cereal. But yeah, I think this is definitely the one that Lucasfilm is certainly like pushing forward for like awards consideration even. I've even seen them like do the FYC for your consideration for campaign for this already. Having seen this now, do you and as a you always have an eye on the Oscars watch here. Do you think that it maybe has any promise for potentially being an awards contender with the backing of Lucasfilm and Disney behind it?
So, as a movie awards podcaster, I will say my reaction to the Emmys is like they give out Emmys for everything. There are so many Emmys. So, and you get into the tiers of daytime Emmys and children's Emmys and like all across that. But not knowing the exact categories they're campaigning this in, I think this has a great chance. Like the artistry of it is clear. And I think one of the good things about having a diverse voting body like the Emmys do is it should be animators who get to decide like what gets the best animated short and so on, or whatever category it falls into. So I think it would have a real shot at that. Now the Oscars does have an animated short film
I think that's what they're pushing it for. Yeah.
Really? I mean, I think you need theatrical release. So
they have been doing the theatrical for that purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, everybody cheats it now. Netflix puts their movies in their one
in their
theater
own theater
in New York. Yeah. And then they're good. So, so that's cool. I mean, the animated shorts are a really kind of tough, interesting category. I do think a lot of times, in the shorts, they primarily try to honor people on their way up. And so it's hard when like a big dog like a Disney and a Lucasfilm comes in. But like Wes Anderson won last year or the year before for his short film. And so they kind of changed that. But based on what I've seen for animated shorts over my years of watching them all for the Oscars, this would fit right in and I think have a solid chance. It's just going to be if the bias of a big studio coming in kind of makes the animating branch grumpy, which could be. The documentarians famously get very grumpy. So they want to pick their own thing and they want to have their own decision making. So I don't know if the animators are quite that cliquey, but I can see them being grumpy about that.
Well, that's true, but I mean, I'm maybe to throw a different perspective into the ring here because they're changing up the voting processes for this year. Or is it this year that they're like forcing people to like say that they've watched things before voting on it?
Yeah, it should be this year, I believe.
A lot of actors and direct like people that aren't necessarily animators are in the Academy, and this may have a favoritism towards like, oh, I like a Star Wars. I'll watch that one more so than the others here. They send me a DVD, I'll watch it, and maybe could give it a consideration there. Wouldn't that be wild if Visions gets an Oscar, both nom and an award? Right, I think the nomination would be alone enough to like send the skyrocketing in the fandom. But I think it'd be really cool. I think it would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
And then to because they do the shorts like in a package, right? That you've been to them where they have them all in one bit at the cinema. And they do like an afternoon of shorts, right? Where it's the live action ones and the animated ones, right? To have that in like black in the package of the various other things that they've got going on, like very much different emotions in the afternoon that is. That'd be a wild experience, I can imagine, for everybody across the board.
Well, and that happens a lot. I mean, if listeners have never done this, it's really fun, and you can do them separately. You can just, usually it's a ticket for the animated shorts, a ticket for the documentary, and a ticket for the live action, and you can do all three in an afternoon. But it happens where like, some animated short film will just be about like, a flower living its happy little flower life in a field. And the next one will be like a meditation on school violence. And so it's like, oh God, I forget. There was one a few years ago it was a beautiful short film and it was called like The Ball or something, but then it was actually about the ball that will never get played with because the child was a victim of a mass shooting, and it's like emotionally devastating when you're like, I thought it was just about a ball or whatever it was. So that was a Netflix release. So Netflix has been trying to
still
get
on Netflix
big in there. Yeah, I'm sure. So they really have been trying to take on a lot of the shorts market. So it would be interesting if Disney Plus makes a play with that.
Makes a run at it, yeah. Well, speaking of the ball, there was that wonderful short last year, and that you and I both remarked was great, was about the Japanese school. and they had the girl that like was not told she can't play with the ball anymore, and she's like, why? I just want to play. That was a good time. As we look ahead towards this next Oscar season too, so maybe Black will be involved with that. But my last question here for you, Greg, of these 3 episodes, since we now know that Visions Volume 3 has some sequels in it, and it's even getting a long form series within one of the episodes that are within this. From this section, episode 7, 8, 9, so The Smuggler, Feather Birds of Paradise, and Black, are there any from this section you would like to see get a sequel? Why or why not?
I mean, I'm going to vote Smuggler because there's a lot of story there. We literally get the start of the next mission, right? At the end. And it's like, take me on that adventure and take me more. I think I also like the idea of them being on Yavin 4, right? Like when the ship burst into that atmosphere and they used the old sound effect, I was like, oh, it's perfect. Like it's so fun. So I would probably vote for that one. I don't know that you can do a sequel to Black, but I think you could do more like that. Yeah, more Black again. Back to Black. Oh, it was right there. No, Back in Black. Anyway,
back to Black with the
so I think you could do more of that style of very avant-garde, as you said. It's harder for me to imagine the middle one, the Birds of Paradise, being expanded. I haven't shouted out, yes, stunning visuals, but I also just really liked the way that used like a 3D rendering of that older anime style. It was kind of a merger of I would say kind of CG and classic anime. So I would love those animators to do more stories, but it felt like that needed to be kind of self-contained. But I could be wrong. You could do more Adventures of that Jedi. Is that what you want to argue for? What are you arguing for?
No. I'm going to argue for the same argument that you said, because I don't know, first off, how you could. I'm sure they could figure it out, right? These creators that are paid to do this. It's their bread and butter. Maybe they created it with the intent of doing more beyond it. But on paper, I don't see how they could move these stories forward logically. They seem very much like one-offs. You got everything at you. There's still more to chew on them, frankly. Versus with the Smuggler, right? We got everything from that episode that we need to, but it begs for a sequel more so than the others do, because it's really like, hey, we're starting the rebellion. Let's go to the next chapter of this here. What's this darker middle chapter, perhaps? Then they could do the third one where they actually take back the planet. I think it's right there for potentially adding on to this tale here. Whereas the other ones, I'd be like, whoa, there's making a longer version of the same episode, perhaps. I maybe the one that least is apt for it is probably Birds of Paradise, just because it was such an introspective story. Like what happens after that is like, her just being a Jedi and walking around and doing Jedi things. I'm like, maybe there's an arc there to learn from that episode itself, but I think the story is all right there. Then that what they were trying to say was that. So and then Black literally said nothing at all. Not that it didn't say anything in like it's thematically wise, but there's no words in it whatsoever. Maybe it's just like maybe it's just called White or something like that, and it's like from a rebel's perspective, right, instead of being from the stormtroopers way there. So maybe that's how they do it, but it just seems like more of the same, perhaps, which might be cool. But I think for a storyline, if you're continuing that, I think the Smuggler is right up there for that one.
Yeah.
Well, all right, Greg, we have concluded or at least for Force Ghost conversations. This marks the end of our Visions Volume 3 conversations here, and I thank you for joining us on this concluding part of this ride. Where can the folks find you and all the things that you're doing online as we get closer to Oscar season, but also Second Breakfast Pack is happening. There's a lot going on in Greg Cass's world. So where can the folks find you if they want to continue the conversation?
Well, thank you again for having me on. It was great. I just have you and PT talking about Back to the Future queued up, and I saw that was 2.5 hours. So he's gonna make fun of me that I'm a lightweight, only coming on for 52 minutes. But
one of the episodes didn't have words.
So people can find me primarily these days over at Long Take Review, which is my movie podcast that I host with Jen Subchakchai, PT McNiff, and Antonio Elefano. We have just recorded our Wicked for Good episode. If people enjoyed that movie, please don't listen to me kind of tear it apart. Though I try to be respectful. I'm I'm pretty grumpy on that episode. But we do our recording schedule ahead is Hamnet is next, followed by Wake Up Dead Man, and I believe Sentimental Value. So all three really excellent films. Yeah. We're really getting into the thick of it now, where we've all seen most of the Oscar movies, and where we have to now have the commentary. And I'm sure we will get to the aforementioned Avatar, Fire and Ash, because we do try to keep. Well, that's going to be interesting.
Marty Supreme is in there too, and
oh man, there's a really great Christmas releases coming up. So we will spend most of January catching up on December. I'm pretty sure. Although I did pitch Jen a 3-episode arc for Primate, the monkey serial killer movie coming out. I think that was roundly rejected.
Whoa. Everyone send your messages to Qui-Gon Jen on Instagram telling her you want this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Second Breakfast, we are slowly picking at Andor. If people have never, Greg has been on many times, Greg McLaughlin from Rebel Base Card, and that's over on his feed. And we're taking a slow saver, returning to Andor season 2, but it's really fun to take those one at a time and pick them apart, because we all loved we don't have to litigate the release schedule, but we all loved getting those episodes, but it did feel like a rush, so it's really great to kind of savor them. So checking me out there, or I'm on social media. If I'm on the social media, it's at Ion Cannon, EYEONCANON.
Wonderful. Yes, folks, go follow Greg on all those platforms, especially as we get into award season. If you're a person that tries to capture all those Best Picture films, go immediately check out the Long Take Review. Probably has an episode coming out in the near future, or already done, for any of those big picture films coming out very soon here. And although you haven't listened to the Back to the Future one yet, you do have the record of longest episode on the podcast. So you can always put that in your back pocket. Be like,
I'll throw that back at him.
I did 15 more minutes than you for Schindler's List. So I've earned my shorter episode here, even though we still go for an hour.
Yeah.
Well, folks,
I actually think I hold that record over on Podcast Stardust too. So I'm getting a reputation now. So
That's a good reputation to have. Make podcasts longer is what I say.
Yeah.
Drag them out, folks. Open the tabs, find the deeper meanings on things, and just the microphones are there for a reason. Just talk into them. Let's see what happens. But folks, thank you very, very much for listening to this episode, and for joining in on our Visions commentaries, discussions over the last couple of weeks here. It's been a blast to chat through them. We will eventually get to volumes 1 and 2. We have not done those yet. Those are on the whiteboard, folks. I can assure you, they've been on there for a while. It might take some elbow grease to get that ink off of the whiteboard, but it's coming. We're getting, especially in January, February, March, and that lead up to Mandalorian and Grogu. We don't have a lot of new things coming out, so we can actually get to some of those incredible things on the whiteboard. So be on the lookout for that. And we also have some very fun episodes looking at the whiteboard again for what's coming up in the next couple of weeks here, which I don't want to spoil for anybody, but just wink, wink, be on the lookout for that. It's going to be exciting. So with that, folks, thank you again for listening. May the Force be with you, and take care.